We were even affected here physically from the Beirut explosion. I mean, the studios, they were in shatters. All the glass were down, even the walls had collapsed, and yet the priority was to keep the station on air, go down on the ground and help as many as we can. And 2019 was when real trouble started. It started with the economic collapse, being called one of the worst in history. Lebanese currency lost about 98% of its value.
Jeepers.
And your $100,000 was suddenly worth $4,000 or $5,000. We had to reset and start all over. We started a campaign called Pay It Forward last year.
Yeah.
We just come out of a devastating war. We had sort of a calm period coming out of the Beirut explosion, and businesses were starting to slowly recover, and some events were coming back into the country, and then the war just surprised everyone. It was quick and it was devastating. I mean, the south of Beirut was just flattened. The south of the country, estimates are about 70 villages are now completely destroyed. Not a single house remains standing. We turned the whole radio station towards helping provide blankets, food, water, shelter.
Virgin Radio.
Let's talk to Najy Cherabieh about what's happening in Virgin Radio Lebanon. He's the executive manager there. Najy, what a pleasure to talk to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Firstly, thanks for having me, and pleasure to talk to you too. Quick background about myself. Well, I've been in radio for about almost 35 years now. I was one of the founding members of Virgin Radio Lebanon, so I was there from the get-go.
Yeah.
It was an amazing 13 years with a lot of ups and downs. So we launched in 2013, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. We had some amazing years, we have some very difficult years, but we're still on air and very optimistic.
It's an extraordinary story you have to tell there in Virgin Lebanon, and for all the wrong reasons in many ways. And yet there's some triumph in the role of radio in the face of aggression, in the face of violence, in the face of upset. Talk us through again a bit of historical or political context, if you will, so that people can really understand where you're coming from today.
Well, I think it all stems from the fact of Lebanon is located in a very volatile region.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you take the map of the world and someone has asked you to pinpoint where's the center, somehow it's around the East Mediterranean, which is where Lebanon is located. So, I mean, it's 20 minutes northward is Europe, 20 minutes eastward is Asia, 20 minutes southward is Africa. So that has always had the region in a very volatile situation. Now, when we first launched Virgin Radio, let's call it the golden years. So we had maybe about 7-8 years where everything was really good. The economy was booming, but you could always feel that there's some sort of instability brewing. 2019 was when real trouble started. It started with the economic collapse, being called one of the worst in history. So sort of what happened in Venezuela, Lebanese currency lost about 98% of its value.
Jeepers.
And everyone's money got stuck in the banks and they couldn't withdraw them anymore. So imagine you worked all your life and you had your savings and you had no more access to it. It was being given out at $100 at a time a month.
Right.
So even if you had saved up $100,000 or $1 million, you can't withdraw more than a couple of $100 a month. So that was probably the start of the troubles. So lots of, let's say, troubles in the street, lots of protests, lots of sporadic violence. So although it was an economic collapse, it had a political background to it.
A lot of anger, I suspect.
Yes, a lot of anger, and everyone got affected. Businesses, individuals. Even here at Virgin Radio, I mean, we were part of the banking system, and our money got stuck in the bank. And then not only did it get stuck in the bank, it lost all its value. So your $100,000 was suddenly worth $4,000 or $5,000. So it's like we had to reset and start all over. Then COVID came. I guess yourselves, just like us, COVID was probably hit worse radio stations because there was no one on the street to listen to radio. And radio isn't as powerful at home as it is in the car.
Right.
So no more advertising, no more, I mean, although we kept programming going, we were doing the shows from home, but listenership was greatly affected, meaning there was no revenue or advertisers. Directly following COVID, we had the Beirut explosion, which is being called the world's largest non-nuclear explosion. It's the world's largest explosion following Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Almost a quarter of the city got destroyed.
Wow. Good God.
Thousands between injured and killed. About a quarter of a million people lost their homes. That was one massive accident, but I mean, it had compiled one thing after the other. So people had not had just lost everything financially, and then suddenly they got stuck with COVID, and then the Beirut explosion. So, what Virgin, firstly, the main challenge was to stay on air, not because the majority of media had shut down, the majority of radio stations had shut down. We were probably the only remaining non-Arabic radio station. The remaining radio stations had let all the staff go and were just running as a playlist. We took a decision with the shareholders that Virgin Radio needs to keep going. It needs to keep going in its proper format without letting anyone go. Yes, everyone's finances was affected, but we were very transparent with everyone. We're sort of a family here. So whatever little money was available, we'd split amongst each other. And the priority was to keep the station going. But since we had so much airtime available, it was about helping as many as we can, using that airtime to help the people. And that's when the station turns completely toward the community.
And you know, Najy, this is why I love your story so much, because in the face of everything you've talked about, this is the power of radio. Radio can be about two things in so many ways, as you know. One is storytelling, and the other is assisting and comforting. And that is the essence of good radio. And it seems what you guys have been doing, you and the Virgin family in Lebanon, is pull it together, stay together, and help everybody.
Exactly. I mean, we were even affected here physically from the Beirut explosion. I mean, the studios, they were in shatters. All the glass were down, even the walls had collapsed. And yet the priority was to keep the station on air, go down on the ground and help as many as we can. And following the Beirut explosion, we turned Virgin Radio as a primary tool to relay important messages such as blood drives or people who had lost communication with family or friends, donations of food, blanket, shelter. So we turned the station for several months after the explosion strictly towards helping people affected.
Yes.
Once things started to slightly settle down, the main priority was the economy of the country was in shatters. There was nothing left because the money had disappeared and businesses, all the international businesses had left the country. So it was all about local businesses. And we turned the station towards helping local businesses, offering them free airtime. So every business that had a message or a product, we would give them free airtime, be it on the morning show, the afternoon show, be it through advertising. Yeah, so there was an extended period where it was not about making money, but about staying on air while at the same time helping as many as possible. And I know Chris Evans does something similar where they help people free of charge. We've been supporting local businesses almost for 4 years now, nonstop. My estimate would be we've probably mentioned close to maybe 2,000 businesses on the radio.
And, you know, we did something similar when I worked in Ireland during COVID, where you're just trying to encourage people in the face of a catastrophe to shop local, go to the village rather than go to the internet. This is where you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and because we ran so many humanitarian initiatives, I think Virgin Radio in Lebanon now is really sewn into the fabric of the community.
Great.
People don't look at it as a radio station. They look at it as their media. So Virgin Radio, although we try to keep some form of entertainment and music, because music is an escape, but the majority of what we've done over the last 4 years has been about the community in one way or another. Maybe one major initiative worth mentioning is we started a campaign called Pay It Forward last year.
Yeah.
As you know, we just come out of a devastating war. And this war caught everyone by surprise. This was not something that was expected or that we had even prepared for. So we had sort of a calm period coming out of the Beirut explosion, and businesses were starting to slowly recover, and some events were coming back into the country, and then the war just surprised everyone. And the war was quick and it was devastating. I mean, the south of Beirut was just flattened. The south of the country, estimates are about 70 villages are now completely destroyed. Not a single house remains standing. So you had almost 1.5 million people that got displaced. And where Virgin Radio is located and where the majority of the team lives is sort of a safe area in the sense of the war didn't hit us directly here. But you had suddenly an influx of over 1 million people that needed shelter, that needed food, families that at no fault of their own, simply because they lived in the wrong location. So we turned the whole radio station towards helping provide blankets, food, water, shelter. We worked with the Beirut Marathon Association, who has a strong, they have a lot of volunteers on the ground. So we were relaying the message for people to contribute, be it blankets, food, water. And we followed that up by an initiative called Pay It Forward, where we put a story on air of people in need of help and try to join them with people who can help. Because both kinds of people listen to Virgin, people who need help and people who are in a position to help.
Sure.
And that worked amazing because it was kind of a call to action on air and on social media. So we would read out the story of someone in need of help, and not just affected by the war. It was families. It was someone who couldn't afford medicine, who couldn't afford tuition or whatever. And then you would have these businesses or these wealthy people or people who would like to help, and we would simply join them on air. And this led to Virgin Group. I mean, they saw, I think this reflected very positively what we're doing with Virgin Group as a whole. And then Virgin Unite came on board, and Virgin, such as Virgin Megastore and various Virgin companies joined in, and they helped us empower this initiative. And so Virgin Unite made a contribution to the Pay It Forward initiative, made a contribution to the Beirut Marathon. Virgin Megastore made a contribution to the Lebanese Red Cross, who helped hundreds of thousands of displaced people. So it was just amazing how the whole Virgin family came together, and it was just about the community. No politics, no religion, nothing involved. It was just about the hardcore community, the families, and the people in need.
Wouldn't the world be a very different place without politics and religion and interference?
Exactly.
No, but goodness it will win out either way. It's been fascinating to talk to you, Najy, and I want to wish you every success in the future. And I hope that our paths cross in real life, because you really are a remarkable person. And what you and your team there are doing is a lesson to us all, I have to say. And I would hope that we would be able to emulate what you do if things got bad for us. A great lesson for, as you say, the Virgin family. So good luck. What a lovely lesson in community and kindness. I can't wish you enough happiness to you, your family, and all the team with Virgin in Lebanon. Thank you for your time today. An absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Virgin Radio.